Richard Conway, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for inviting me.
Appreciate your time and well done last night with the Business Awards in Auckland. It's pretty cool.
Thank you.
So can you tell us a bit more about that?
So last night we were awarded the Auckland Central Business Awards for Best Emerging Business. They said to us, only take 2 people up on stage, but in my mind it's not about that, so I made sure that the entire team came up on stage, which was quite funny. So we had about 20-something people up there, so that was cool.
Yeah.
And the team enjoyed it.
Well done, that's awesome. So Oompher's all about inspiring people to achieve extraordinary things. So who and what during your life and career has inspired you?
So there's been loads of things and people. More recently, a guy called Tony Falkenstein invested in my business. Now, we didn't need investment because it's a cash positive business, but he's a guy who has been very successful in his career, but other than that, he's actually a brilliant philanthropist. He's more than just a successful entrepreneur, and I kind of look up to or aspire towards people who do more than just entrepreneurialism, who actually do good things. So he had the national curriculum changed in New Zealand to incorporate business, very philanthropic. Then you've got people on the global scale like Bill Gates, who started the foundation and did pretty amazing things. And I think if you're successful, you have a responsibility to do these other things. And you've got lots of people doing that, and they don't necessarily shout about it. So there's quite a few people who, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And as the managing director of Pure SEO, can you tell us a bit more about what you guys do in the marketplace and I guess where it all started?
So Pure SEO started in October 2009, so we're 5 years old last month. I moved to New Zealand a couple of months before that, here with my wife, also British, and we didn't really know anyone. But I saw a gap in the market. I thought, have a go. Started with $200, set the business up. I remember getting up in the early days in my dressing gown, 11 o'clock, thinking, where are we going to get business from? But really, in New Zealand, you go out, you network, you do good things, and you're honest and hardworking, then your business grows. And then if you surround yourself with really good people, that helps. So I always thought from day one, I never wanted to be a one-man band. So from day one, I had a plan how to grow the business, and it's obviously changed, but we're sort of 5 years down the line, 25 staff, growing all the time, so it's been a good ride.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And I guess, can you tell us about like who needs SEO? It's very much obviously in that business-to-business space, so does all businesses who have an online presence need it?
Unless they've just got a brochure website where they don't really want to drive traffic to, but most businesses do. So in terms of who we kind of deal with, we deal with, say, Subaru, Turner's Auctions, the Red Cross, Heart Foundation, Marketing Association, so all sorts. We deal with a lot of big corporates, but we also deal with a lot of SMEs.
Yep. Yeah, fantastic. And I mean, obviously you guys have experienced incredible growth. Just behind us here is some stuff from the Deloitte Fastest 50 competition where you experienced growth of 433%. It's just massive. So what do you attribute that extreme and awesome growth to? Did that stem from just having a really good idea at the right time, or how did that all work?
I think it's continually pushing the boundaries. So not everything works, so we've done some things that didn't work. We tried a local SEO package which was really low value and mass market, but we found that it was supposed to be minimal touch, but we found the kind of customers we were getting which wanted to be on the phone all the time, so we had to pull that quickly. So it's being agile in what you release and understand if something doesn't work, pull it back quickly. If something's successful, go for it, and always push the boundaries. So it's sort of a perpetual momentum kind of thing. We're always looking new ways to do things. We actually acquired another company last week, and it was called Round Vision. We've rebranded it to Pure 360, and what that is, it's a service with a Google Trusted Photographer where you go into businesses and you take 360-degree panoramas for Google Maps. There's only 12, I think, trusted photographers in New Zealand.
Okay.
So we acquired one, and it gives us a competitive advantage because it allows us to log into the back of Google Maps, it influences rankings. So we're always looking for different angles to push forward. Another thing we're doing is we're developing a cloud-based reporting tool because we couldn't find any single reporting tool that pulled all the information we wanted. We looked at acquiring a company in the US that did something similar, but ultimately it didn't do quite as much as we wanted, and so we decided to develop it from scratch. And that should be finished in a couple of weeks, which is exciting.
Yeah, really exciting. And I guess does the growth also come down to the market and people realising that these days a website is not always going to get you new business? You really do have to have it optimised and have people driving to that website because there's just so much out there. Is the internet becoming more sophisticated in that way?
Yeah, well, people are realising that more and more people are buying stuff online. The other side of it is pretty much all our customers recommend us to other people. And if you do really well for someone, they talk to other people. It's natural to talk to other people about it. And so when someone hears the success that someone's had from their website using optimization, it kind of spreads, and that's really one of the main reasons that our business has grown. But there's definitely becoming an increasing view that the internet is a good place to sell stuff. And if you think about it, you rent a shop on a high street, it costs you a fortune just to rent it. Whereas a website, I mean, my first website cost me $200, which is what I spent to start the company. I got one page done and I did the rest myself. It looked like a child had done it, but it served a purpose at the time. And then I spent $10,000 on a new website a year later. My first inquiry through that was Singapore Airlines, and that just shows you that how important that shop front is.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously we've been talking about that growth of 433%. So are you guys looking towards an IPO still on the NZX, or?
So it's certainly on the horizon. A lot of it depends on what the market is doing at the time, how they're valuing tech companies. So a lot of these tech companies have got these crazy valuations and they're not actually making any profit, which is interesting, but they are massive growth. We're different. We actually make a profit. So we might do. We certainly don't need the cash, but it is a possibility if we really want to scale internationally.
Okay, and this is a big process getting ready for something like that?
It is, but fortunately Tony, my business partner, has listed companies before, and Ian, my other business partner, has also been involved in listing, so got an experienced team who've been through it.
Yeah.
So that will help.
Yeah, cool. And just talking about Tony and Ian from the Harvard group, they obviously come on board for 35%, was it earlier this year? Yeah. What did it take to attract such an awesome investment group like that? Was that quite challenging, or was that a networking thing, or how did that work?
So the Harvard Group are the majority shareholders in Just Water International, which is a publicly listed company, and Just Water have been a client of ours for 3 years. They saw what we were able to achieve for their business, both in New Zealand and Australia, and therefore Tony, who was the founder of Just Water, decided it would be a good acquisition for him. Now, I wouldn't have sold to anyone. I've had quite a lot of dealings with Tony, and the guy's massively ethical. He's very successful, and he's the sort of person you ask other people about, and I've never heard a bad word said about him, and it kind of fitted in with the ethos of the company. So we've had people try and acquire parts of us before, and it's never been a consideration just based on we don't need it. But to have someone like Tony come on board, to actually pay me to come on board and help me grow my company, I mean, I couldn't say no to that.
Yeah, fantastic. So what would your advice be to the business owners out there wanting to get some investment in their company or attract investment? Is there a process of going about that?
So ours was an unusual process. The offer came in and within 3 weeks it was sealed and done. But it was a bit of a strange situation as one of the guys at the Harvard Group, Ian Malcolm, who owns 10%, is actually my accountant, so he knew my financials in and out. But what I've found is that the best way of doing these things is actually networking and getting out. I belong to a group called Entrepreneurs Organisation, which has opened up loads of doors, and you get out, you speak to people, you do good things, and by virtue of that, good things happen. Yeah,
awesome. And one of the cool things about Pure SEO as well is obviously you guys from 2009 had quite a big global focus from the start, really. We're now with clients in obviously the UK, Australia and New Zealand. So also, was that global presence and global focus, does that help attract investment as well if you've got visions to expand overseas?
Yeah, absolutely, because New Zealand's a very small market, and if you really want to be a big player, you're going to have to look at international markets. I'm friends with a guy who started Esquire's coffee group, and they sold Esquires in Australia and New Zealand. He's now going, and they bought the rights to around the world. And one thing he said that sticks with me is that it's equally hard to make a sale in another country as it is in New Zealand or somewhere. It's just going out there and doing it. And so really, to be global, to want to be global, you've just got to really want to do it and really go for it. And then it's not that much harder than doing it locally.
Okay, awesome. And you talk about just going out there and making those sales. So how did you go about that in the early days, and has that changed now? Was there lots of sort of cold calling and approaching new clients, or was it more building a brand that people come to you?
So in the early days, it was interesting because I had no network whatsoever in New Zealand, like none. It was just me and my wife, both British. And so what I did is I went out and I networked, and I took, I used organisations in New Zealand, so I got mentored through Business Mentors New Zealand. I went and networked at different groups, and it was really, my first customer came through networking. And then they told other people, and really networking hard, people buy off people.
Yeah, awesome. And what about today? Is there a different strategy there? Is there lots of outwards calls and that kind of thing? Or?
So we've got a sales team now. We spend money on radio, we spend money on Google AdWords. We measure everything. In the digital world, you can measure things, and I don't care how much money I spend, as long as it works out financially. So we'll throw money all over the place as long as the results are there.
Yeah.
So we do all sorts, but probably the biggest is referrals from clients, web developers and other industry people who know us.
Okay, and is the process about getting a SME on board different to getting a corporate on board? Is it a much bigger process or different process? Or?
So the sales cycle is longer with a corporate. We actually just signed, and I can't say who it is, yesterday, our largest ever client, and that took about 6 months, whereas an SME, it can be a one meeting close. We find as well, when corporates come on board, they almost never leave. They stay with us for a long time. As long as you're responsive, you do what you say you're going to do, you make them look good, they stay on board. And so corporates has not been our target. The business was set up to go after SMEs based on the amount of SMEs in New Zealand. However, probably about 30-40% of our clients are corporates. We've not gone out at all to attract corporates. That being said, I speak at a lot of events, and a lot of the people that come to those are corporate marketing managers. So I'm speaking at a big event next Friday, it's a TED style talk for AUT and the Marketing Association, and that's really outside my comfort zone, getting up and speaking in front of 300-400 people. But I feel you have to get outside your comfort zone, and I'm sure out of that, at the very worst, our brand's going to be spread out to 400 people. And I'm sure we'll get business out of it.
Yeah, awesome. And what are the advantages of having offices, I guess, in different parts of the world? Is it just a time zone thing, or are there other advantages of having people on the ground? Are the cultures quite different in different parts of the world?
So the only place we've got someone on the ground other than New Zealand is the UK, and that's mainly due to the time difference. So in Australia we don't have people on the ground. We intend to in the future. And it's the time difference. So we've got a number of UK clients, and it was quite difficult to service their needs. Not in terms of the ranking, but in terms of actually the sort of day-to-day questions and things like that. And so now we have someone on the ground in the UK that kind of negates that problem. Yeah,
awesome. And I just want to talk briefly about the time you spent with Sir Richard Branson on Necker Island earlier this year. I mean, how was it?
Yeah, it was awesome. It was a long way. So it took about 30 hours there and 30 hours back. But how often do you get the opportunity to do something like that? So I was straight in there. But brilliant. The island's amazing. Richard was with us the entire time, just chilling with us and doing crazy things. And everyone let their guard down, because on the first night we did some crazy thing called costume roulette, where everyone brought a costume, stuck it in the middle, and you picked up whatever was there, and I managed to be Mr. Stay Puft from Ghostbusters, which a big sort of blow-up suit, and Richard Branson was Where's Wally? Someone else, some poor guy, was a sexy nun. I'm pleased I didn't get that one.
Yeah.
But that kind of took the barriers down, and it was very much you could ask anything, do anything, but it was also a non-formal environment. So it wasn't an environment where you go and get your picture with Sir Richard. It was just you go, have a drink, sit down, have a chat. One of the interesting things that he said is he's really not comfortable getting up and speaking in front of big groups, which you'd have thought someone like that, with the success he's had, he'd have no problems. So it was quite interesting hearing that. And he says the way he deals with that is he tries to imagine he's in living room, talking to his friends. Other thing that I think is amazing from a business perspective, that place is epic. I mean, it's just the most beautiful, brilliant place. And what he does is he gets all these billionaires and amazing business people from around the world descending on Necker Island. And he says they sit down at the bar and they just chew the fat, and some of the business ideas that come out and things are immense. And you think about it, what a strategy. Just, you've got this place and you invite these amazing minds and they all want to come down to you and sit.
They want to come to your place.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Right. Really, really clever. So
cool.
Yeah.
And one of the other things I read about it on your blog was that he mentioned how if he could go back, I guess, in time, he may not have taken as many risks again. I found that quite interesting. So did he elaborate on that?
It was interesting because in the same breath he's saying if he went back he wouldn't take as many risks. In the same breath he's telling us how he's going to go up in Virgin Galactic this year. Obviously with recent events it's not going to happen. But yeah, he says that, but the next thing he's doing is trying to get up to space with a very high likelihood that something could go wrong. So although he said that, he's clearly someone who likes to push the boundaries.
Yeah.
But it was interesting.
Yeah, and obviously the culture at Virgin, they take it incredibly seriously. So what did you learn about from him in terms of culture that you've then integrated back into your business at Pure SEO?
So we're a culture-led organisation here. We have pillars which we stand by, and we hire based on that culture. And not just Richard, it was the other entrepreneurs there who were equally successful, maybe not equally, but very, very successful entrepreneurs. And everyone talked about the value of culture and the people. And a few of the guys there talked about how they give their staff unlimited holidays. They can take whatever they want. And interestingly, a couple of months after that, or a month after we came back, so Richard said the same for Virgin Group. So I don't know whether he got the idea from one of the guys there, but it was interesting to see that. Yeah,
awesome. So just before we head into our Quickfire Questions to finish off, I guess what's your dream still to come with this company? What do you want it to become?
I'm always pushing, growing. We are the largest in our niche in New Zealand, and we've only got 200 clients. Why can't we have 2,000? So our next goal, BHAG, Big Hairy Audacious goal, is to have 1,000 Raven fans in 12 months' time. So we've got 200, get to 1,000 and then push it on. Always trying to push the boundaries.
Yeah, fantastic. So just a few quick fire questions to finish. What would be your sort of top 3 bits of advice for starting out entrepreneurs or people wanting to start their own business? What would you say to them from your experience?
The biggest thing is just do it. So many people think about it, talk about it, worry about it, and then never do it. And how are you going to know? So just do it. And the other thing is, in my view, it's better to regret having done something than to regret not having done it. So push forward. If something doesn't work, learn from it and try something different. And so that kind of leads me on to the last one, which is fail quickly. If you're going to do something wrong, do it quickly and evolve. There's a book called The Lean Startup, and that talks about releasing small, quick iterations so that you don't spend all your money and get the final product straight away, and that you can sort of apply to business.
Yeah, and just talking about that, just do it. I mean, as you said before, in 2009, you literally started Pure SEO with a couple of $100. So people who don't have a huge budget, your advice to them is just get out there and do what you can and go from there?
Yeah, all you need is a computer, a phone, and will, really. You can do it if that's what you really want to do. what's stopping you doing it?
Yeah, awesome. And now, I guess, knowing what you know now and how you're running this business today, if you could hypothetically give yourself a bit of advice back in 2009 at the start of the company, what would you say to yourself back then?
Know your value. So when I started Pure SEO, I had no idea what I was worth and what the product was worth. So I started charging $50 an hour. The idea was, so the initial business strategy was $50 an hour, 4 hours a month, $200. Get to 50 clients, be about $120,000 a year. Employ someone to do that, and then start again. I soon realised that $50 an hour was a comedic amount to be charging for what we do. And 4 hours a month was not necessarily enough. So knowing my value and having the confidence to just go and actually push the value.
And I guess the 16-year-old boy you were, would you be proud of what you've built here today? Or surprised? Or?
Yeah, proud of this. Also, I've got 2 kids that were born here and amazing family, and I'm an eternal optimist, always have been, and so I love my life out here. And probably one of the things I'm proudest of is actually taking the step to come to New Zealand and move to a country where I didn't know anybody, and bring up our family here, and we have such a nice life here. So.
Yeah, fantastic. And I mean, you're definitely achieving some cool things today. So to finish off, can you please look down this camera here and tell us, what are your wise words for the people of New Zealand?
Embrace perpetual discomfort. So always be pushing. If you're not uncomfortable in something, you're not going hard enough.
Great. Richard Conway, thanks so much.
Cheers.